Hey, real estate investors, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we've got something very cool for you. We're going to be talking about how to master the initial seller phone call. And this is really going to tie in perfectly with our last video. It's one of the most important things that you can learn, whether you're doing these calls yourself or whether you're using a virtual assistant to handle these calls. So one of the most important things we can do, and it's going to tie in really good with our last video where we talked about if you can just improve this one area, you can drastically change your business. In fact, in that video, we talked and showed you how you can improve just this one area to book more appointments. And we showed an example of how you can get another $47,000. So. My buddy Eric B here. How you doing, man?
What's up, buddy? Yep.
Doing fantastic. Doing fantastic. I know this is something you're super passionate about. I'm just going to kind of step back and let you do your thing, man. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, this is one of the most impactful conversations that's happening in anybody's business, because this is the top of the funnel. The initial seller call, just doing that well, sets the rest of the conversion process up really well. So if you do it wrong, you're losing opportunities. If you do it right, you're bringing and creating opportunities in your business. So it's a great place to focus for just refinements, how to get better. And just like we were talking about in that last video, a 10% improvement in this area can have drastic impact on the bottom line, how profitable our businesses are. So we're going to dive into it right now.
Yeah, and this is actually going to be the first of several videos that we're going to be kind of putting together as a package on this topic, where we're going to talk about, handling objections and tonality and posture, deal killers, and how to set the stage and actually get that appointment booked. So you're definitely going to watch these, want to watch this series of videos here on really how to master this initial call. We're gonna really dive deep into it. And while you're at it, while Eric's getting things ready here, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, hit that little bell icon. That way, when we post new videos, you can get notifications when we post new videos, and leave us a comment down below if there's something that you want to cover while we're going through this, or you have questions. Be sure and leave a comment down below. We do read all the comments and respond to them as well. So it's all you, baby.
Absolutely. Just reemphasize the fact that this series is all about the sales process. So if there's something that we haven't covered, or if there's something that you're struggling with, leave a comment below, and we would love to add it to our sales series here, because this is where we win, and this is how we get our businesses to our goals. So let's roll.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. Let's talking about making the first impression and mastering the first phone call with a motivated seller lead. I start off with this, some might say a cheesy little slide here with the smile rock here, but it really does start with a smile. Believe it or not, I know, hopefully you've probably heard the cliche that you smile when you dial. I totally believe in that. And it's when you're smiling and you're dialing, you're setting yourself up to win. And it's just the state of mind that you kind of put yourself into that is just kind of a core principle right out of the gate. Most people overlook it. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. Going into any kind of sales situation, which is basically what this is, you're selling them on working with you. You've got to have that preparation. And something that you shared with me, Eric, that I think has been really helpful is just taking that warm up, kind of having a warm up read through when you go through. I know you like to stand when you're doing it. You like to use a headset. But just kind of reading through and I guess priming yourself before you actually get on the call with a seller. Now, you don't always have time to do this because sometimes you'll just get an incoming call, but you've got to be able to snap yourself into that right mindset when you get on a call. Maybe you got something going on. Maybe, you're having a rough day in business or whatever, but boy, when you get on the seller call, man, you gotta learn to snap yourself into that that mode. And so just being able to read through, we are good at what we do. These are the things that I tell myself. We are good at what we do. People truly need what we want and what we offer. And I'm doing them a favor by providing the solution to their problem that they're going through right now. We want to be empathetic. And so just being able to get yourself in that right mindset, and understand that if they say no, that's their loss. They still have the problem that they're going to have to deal with. So just kind of reminding yourself of those things before you get on a call. Recording the call is always super helpful. Having a pen and paper, just being ready to be on your game, I guess, is what I would add to that. So,
yeah, priming. I think what you talked about there with the priming your energy and starts with a smile. It's 100% relevant and a really important process to go through. There's Tony Robbins talks about priming a lot and changing your state. So before a sales call, you don't always get a pick when the phone rings, so you get to jump on it. But you can create little triggers. For me, a state change is a big smile.
Yeah, mine's a snap. I can get myself to snap into a state change just by doing that. Yeah.
Yep. I can take a big deep breath and then put on a big cheesy smile for myself, and it just reminds me, okay, like get into state. We're happy to be here. Yeah. And that's really just starts with that. So I know I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think that all these little details matter, and which creates your first impression. And first understanding
everything.
Yeah, man. We are so the first impression leaves such a strong impression that we have to take it serious, especially in a sales setting. It just we can't overstate that. So if you were to think back yourself about how impactful a first impression is, I bet you could probably close your eyes and think of several different first impressions that had a drastic impact on you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Whether it was a handshake, the way somebody said a hello to you, the eye contact or lack of thereof, or all of these different things can just kind of set you off onto a good path or a challenging path, ultimately.
And most importantly, as I'm doing that right now, it starts with a smile. That smile is what generally does it. And again, beating a dead horse here, but we're doing this because it is so important. We listen to coaching calls. We have clients that will send us their recorded coaching calls. And how many times do you hear? And so Mr. Seller, why are you thinking of selling your home? You've got to have some personality. You've got to have some energy. And I know you're going to talk a lot about tonality and posture, Eric. So I'm getting ahead of ourselves here, so I'll shut up. But I don't think we can beat this enough that it's just that first impression. You got to be on your game.
Yeah. Nail it. This should be practiced. This should be very intentional and something that you're striving to do at the best level that you possibly can. It sets the tone for the rest of the whole interaction. So first impressions just really, really matter. Okay. And to the point that you were making, how do you do that? Well, you do a certain amount of preparation for your phone calls, such as if you have a mantra that you can read through. Scott, you read through some of the mantra that we have, but it's just, again, priming yourself. Okay, that's what we're talking about, preparation. Doing the smile, doing the priming, reading through your script. So if you're going to, this is how we operate. We have time blocks where we do, follow-up calls, or we do, we're taking inbound calls or whatever else. We have different time blocks. So this is something before you go into a time block where it's a setting where you're going to be making a series of phone calls, or, where you're going into that sales setting, doing this preparation in anticipation of setting first impressions is what we're talking about. So changing your state. Sometimes another thing that I'll do personally, and this is part of a creative process for everybody, but is to listen to a playlist that jazzes you, that gets your energy going. You know, there's certain songs that will take me from a frustrated mood to a good mood within seconds of that beat and the song coming on, and you're like, boom, here it is.
Yeah.
That's an example of preparation.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So do that. Start with the smile, read through your mantra, read through your script, then step into the sales setting. That's how you set yourself up to win.
Yeah, and with practice, you will get to that point where you can snap your finger or put that smile on your face, and it'll take you right back to that state. Which I can't stress. I wrote this down on my notes while you're talking here. Practice, 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 practice. If you have the ability or the opportunity to work with a coach or work with one of your employees or one of your partners or whatever, and practice these calls, record them, and you'll get a ton of value out of them. Going back and listening to your past calls that you've done and going, geez, why did I say that? You know, that's a real eye opener when you can actually listen to your calls. So definitely record them. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Doing the debrief. So listening to the phone calls and giving yourself a little critical thought. You know, what did you do well? What didn't you do well? What could you do better for next time? That it's invaluable. So totally agree. So now that we're getting onto the phone call, okay, and we're not talking about script. We're just talking about a state of mind, the approach to a script. So this is kind of like before we even get into the scripting, you want to establish that positive tone. Okay. And we talk about setting it up with a warm greeting, introduction, addressing the prospects by their name. If you have it, obviously people love to hear their name. So if you have somebody's name, then definitely ask for it or refer to them by their name. Again, it's a subconscious powerhouse of just saying somebody's name. They love it. And then use a confident and friendly tone, you know, as you go through this. So again, this is your first impression. This is what the initial start, and you're setting the tone for the rest of the conversation. So we're going to set and establish a positive one. Okay. Intentionally. And Scott, you kind of made the joke earlier, but how many times have we heard people get onto sales calls and there's no positive tone?
Right.
Sometimes it's almost like an irritated tone, or like it's pretty wild how often I see this portion of a call just be like way off the mark. So,
yeah, you got to think that this could be a this could be a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 phone call right here. So treat it accordingly.
Exactly right. And that's the type of thing that you need floating in your head. This could be a 20, 30, 40, or 50,000 or more conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So active listening. This is the next kind of challenge, if you will, that we see out there in the sales setting, is the ability to demonstrate and do active listening in a conversation. So what is active listening? Let's just kind of define what active listening is in general, and why is it so important? Scott, how would you answer that? What is active listening?
Just actually paying attention, having empathy, being able to repeat back to them what they just said, so they know that you're hearing them. They, at this stage of the game, that you got to think they're probably going through a pretty stressful time in their life. Sometimes, not all the time, but just having empathy and being able to let them know that I hear you, and so responding with same words, same phrases come to mind, repeating back to them what they just said. I think that would be my description, which is probably a horrible description, but
no, that's exactly right. I mean, when you demonstrate that you're listening, because you're doing your active listening, and then you repeat what they said to them, that you're demonstrating the active listening. So 100%. Okay. Yeah. Another way is to use these kind of filler words, we call them soft skills, if you will. And that's just kind of giving these reactions to what they say. Oh, wow. No kidding. That sounds interesting. Oh, is that right? Oh, cool. I know, right? Oh, 100% agree with that. Yep, totally. These are just simple, casual, almost slang type of terms that you can toss back and forth in a conversation that shows people that you're actively listening.
One of my favorites is, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there
Just
you go.
Getting them to talk more,
Yep. Because you're very interested and you're doing a great job listening, and that's what you're signaling to them. And people love and are very responsive to that. So anytime that you can, number one, you should be always doing or practicing active listening, but then showing it by these connecting words, by asking deeper level questions, doing all of that. The opposite of this would be to have your browser window open, you're splitting your attention to something else,
talking about yourself too much,
or you're reading a script. So this is why people oftentimes hate scripts, is because they're trying to participate in a conversation, but they're reading a script. And so it comes across that they're reading, or they're not listening, or that the script doesn't actually match the conversation. All of that demonstrates that you're not actively listening. So then it becomes awkward. Okay, so what I always tell people with any type of a scripting, if you're trying to learn it, you want to do the practice and reading through the script off the call. Then just do the best you can off your memory while you're on the call, so that you can practice your active listening and use as much of the script as that you can recall. But don't read off the script.
Yeah.
That's where it can become, you're losing the active listening side of it.
Something that helped me is to, I personally don't like the word script. You and I have used the word framework a lot. Is I look at it as a framework, not a word for word. So, Mr. Seller, tell me, why are you thinking about selling your house today? That's obviously scripted, but use the framework, use the bullet points, and don't get caught up into reading it word for word, or it will sound like it, unless you're like a super pro at it. But yeah, use it as a framework.
Yeah, and when you're a super pro, you have the script memorized, and so you can just recall it at any time off the top of your head. It takes time to get there, but that's the ultimate goal, is to get so proficient at that script that you can just recall it or maneuver the script per the setting easily, right? While you're actively listening. So, and the other tall tale sign that you're not actively listening that I see all the time, no offense, but especially with VAs, is that they the client will give them some information like, my partner just passed away, and they will just kind of say, okay, great, so how many bedrooms and bathrooms is it? And they just roll right on through the script and they lost the whole context. And
you're done.
You're done. That's the tall tale sign that there's no active listening happening.
Empathy. Two things pop to mind. Empathy, that word is huge in this situation. And then, Dale Carnegie, man, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Being genuinely interested in other people. That is something that I think would do you well to remind yourself of that before getting on one of these calls.
Yes. And in order to do that, you have to apply active listening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the more you do your active listening, the more engaging the conversation is going to be. Okay. And the wonderful way to create engaging conversations is to be really good with your open-ended questions. Encourage the other side of the conversation to talk as much as possible. That is going to serve you well if you're always using vast majority of your questions are open-ended questions. Just creates that engaging conversation, which then you can apply your active listening. You're connecting your soft skills of, wow, no kidding, is that right? How long? Tell me more. That's how that circle works. Okay. So now, as you're doing this, and you're oftentimes we're asking questions that are kind of leading them into some pain points. They usually have some sort of an issue that they are, solving by selling their house in our setting. And maybe that's a classic distress situation, like a foreclosure or a death in the family or something of this nature. Okay. So being able to go and address the pain points, ask the questions, just try to avoid it. A lot of people just avoid the pain, the motivation, the deep level pain, addressing their needs of their clients. Mm-hmm. And so the rapport is very surface level. But if you have the ability to ask the questions and then just sit in it with them, what do I mean by sit in it with them? What does that mean to you, Scott, when I say that? Sitting in it.
I go back to the word empathy. Just being empathetic to their situation and looking. I look at this as I'm not pushing them down a path. I am taking them by the hand and I am there with them, walking down the path with them, and providing another word that I just wrote down was reassurance. Is providing that reassurance that we are here to help you. You're not alone. We've helped out other people in this situation before. You'll get through this. So just. The main word is empathy, and just being there, letting them know that you're on their side and you're with them. Yeah.
I totally agree. And that's what it means to sit in it with them. Ask them the questions, not hide away from it, and give them that reassurance. So with that empathetic approach. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, while you're doing this, we also want to be asking the questions and finding the deal killers. So what is a deal killer? A deal killer is that piece of information that will stop them from moving forward at any one point. So whatever is going to kill the deal, that is usually it's kind of like a secret, if you will. It's like it's not information that they are just handing out to you.
Gotcha.
It's floating behind the scenes. Okay, an example of a deal killer might be they need to get approval from somebody in the family. Oh, I need to talk to somebody to get this approval. Their opinion really matters in the situation, but they didn't tell you this.
Right.
And if you didn't uncover it and you get yourself to a deal, you're thinking you have a deal, but then this person, as soon as you leave or whatever else, they go have that really meaningful conversation that you didn't know about, and they kill the deal. Okay.
Right.
Or a timeline. Hey, if you can't, close in this timeline, whether it's a longer timeline or a shorter timeline, then the deal can't move forward.
Would that also be like a lien on the property that they didn't tell you about, or something like that too?
Okay. That will kill a deal, won't it?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why finding the deal killers, we do that through asking good questions and be methodical through our script. The more questions we're asking, the more deal killers, the better the chances of us uncovering the deal killers. And we want to get the deal killers, anything that would stop them from selling their house. We want to know about this as soon or as early in our, quote unquote, relationship as we can. Whether it's the first phone call, the second phone call, or whatever it is, the earlier in the sales process, the better. That way we can address them. That way we can actually work with them on the deal killers. The thing that's a killer is when the deal killers come out at the end, when you're surprised by them, when you get hit out of left field from a deal killer. Oh, didn't know that was there. That's the killer that we need to avoid. So just asking good questions on the initial phone call with a lot of empathy will allow you to find the deal killers.
And I think too, well, there you go. Perfect segue into this. I was just going to say that if you really do have that rapport, I think they're gonna be more open with you and potentially reveal. Well, obviously, asking good questions helps, but the more rapport you have, the more they're going to open up to you and be able to share those things with you and feel comfortable about it, because not everybody wants to tell you about, maybe something that they're embarrassed about or struggling with right now. So yeah, perfect segue into your next slide here.
Yes, and the way we're building rapport, just to be really clear, to pull this whole full circle, is by doing all of those techniques that we just talked about. When you're doing your active listening, when you're using your connecting words, when you're asking open-ended questions, when you're willing to sit in the pain with them with an understanding tone, all of that equals good rapport.
Yeah.
That's what building good rapport looks like. So again, just if you feel like you're lacking rapport, if it's surface level, or if you're having a hard time like getting through, revisit these techniques that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because again, I can't say this enough. When you do it right, all of those things, techniques that we just talked about, rapport is at a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, rapport is the glue that keeps transactions together, even through storms, even through the we got to do a price reduction, even if through the curveball that comes thrown through escrow for whatever reason. Rapport is almost always the glue that keeps things together. If it's really weak rapport, they're almost looking for ways out.
Yeah.
If the rapport is really strong, they're willing to work through problems with you. Okay, so can't understate that enough. It's just really, 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 really important. So now, I know we've got a long video going already, so I'm going to kind of go a little bit faster through this next section, which is just our seller lead script. This is our seller lead script. So this is the framework of how we do our conversations. So just as a quick reminder, if you don't have a really good seller lead script, if this is something that you would be interested in getting a copy of, leave a comment, reach out to us. We're happy to give you our full script right here. I'm just going to go through the framework and show you just kind of the mechanics of our conversation. And to me, the most valuable part of this script is the framework. This framework has been battle tested through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of calls and hundreds of transactions, all start from a really good conversation framework. Okay.
Yeah, I'll put a link down below, Eric, so they can download this. I know that this is something that we've given out and it's helped a lot of people. So I'll put a link down below so they can download this for themselves.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number one, it's the introduction. You got to nail a smooth and consistent introduction. Just getting that down right sets the tone for the rest of the conversation. Then we go into property information. We start asking about the property right away. That's right after the intro. Tell me about your property. And we have a list of questions that we go into about the property. And we do that to start building relevant conversation that can be seeds of rapport. So we want to be building rapport here before we go down into the motivation section. After we get property information, then we go into more of the touchy-feely questions that need to be asked to elicit their pain, their motivation, the true why behind what they're saying. And this is where we spend most of our time. Roughly about 70% of the conversation happens right here in the motivation section of our script. Okay, so this is just really, really, really important to just sit in it, ask deep level conversation questions, and understand their motivation. After we get their motivation, then we go into their expectation of value. When doing it right, from here, we never put ourselves in a position to be price fighting with people. This is one of the biggest obstacles that people have in a seller conversation, is that they will start talking about value or offer or something like this, and then they will get into a price fight. And that's where somebody wants over market value for their property, and we're going to dispute and fight with them over it. It's really easy to do. It's super common, and it will kill your deal faster than anything. So
yeah, I'm surprised how many people at that stage right there like expect you to give them a price over the phone when you haven't even seen the house yet. So you just, knowing how to handle that is important. That right there, because it's going to come up for sure.
Because one really common reaction that we get from our outbound marketing, keyword outbound marketing, is, what's your offer?
Yeah, right.
You called me, you texted me, what's your offer?
Yeah.
It's extremely common. So, how you handle that is just everything right there. So after we go through that, we talking about the value, then we go into setting the stage and letting our clients, how we work with our clients. And this goes into the 3 different options that we present for our clients. It's super effective. And once we describe that, how we work with our clients, and we identify which path is going to be the most beneficial for them, then we decide whether it's the right time to set the appointment or not. So this is our framework of how we do our seller conversations. It's not a word-for-word script. It's a framework with question examples that we customize for the situation and or our own style. Okay, just to be really clear about that. Mm-hmm. So nothing that I'm showing you is intended to be a word-for-word script.
Yeah.
It just doesn't operate. Conversations don't operate that way, which is, again, why we do even more emphasis in studying on just question asking. How good you ask questions and the quality of your questions determine the quality of the answers and how engaging they're going to be. So we practice a handful of just really engaging conversation questions that pull the conversation in the direction that we want it to go. The person that's asking the questions is in control of the conversation.
Absolutely.
So,
and the other thing I wrote down too here, Eric, is the 70-30. So like you should be, and it's difficult. I get it. Maybe it's 60-40, but you should be talking 30% of the time and listening 70% of the time, or something close to that. Just make sure you're aware of that when you're remind yourself that,
Yes, you nailed it. So talk time. We're 30% is us, and they are 70% of the talk time. Okay.
Right.
And the way you set up this dynamic is by asking really good questions.
And being a good listener.
Yep. It forces that dynamic to happen, or that ratio to happen. So great point. Okay. So after that, then these are kind of a little bit more advanced sales patterns that we touch on and teach people of how to move a conversation through and getting clarity on what they really need specifically, and how to set them up with a picture perfect scenario using a little bit of a FABE, feature advantage, benefit, and evidence sales pattern right here, which we'll talk more about, and then moving them over to the next stage. So this is another technique that we use in our sales conversations. This here is just a little kind of a demonstration of what we call the straight line sales conversation. That this is Jordan Belford talks about this, the Wolf of Wall Street. And what he's talking about is a lot of time when people are trying to build rapport, they take if this straight line was the script, they go so far off script to try to build rapport and have extra conversation that you lose the effectiveness of your sales process.
Yeah, you can overdo rapport for sure.
Oh yeah, these are like big tangents, right? That you're just kind of going off of, and it's a really kind of unorganized conversation. And so you want to kind of work yourself from, if you're over in this category, you want to slowly work yourself to here, and then ultimately have very little fluctuation off of the script to build rapport or make these different connections. Again, it's not that you don't want to, but you just want to have it in very limited amounts and keep as close to that straight line of the script as you possibly can. Okay.
Yeah. So, did you? And I find myself doing this, and I'm a huge believer. Dale Carnegie, that How to Win Friends and Influence People, probably one of the most influential books ever that I've read. But I sometimes feel like people, myself included, try too hard. I guess what I'm saying is people don't necessarily have to be your best friend to still do business with you. You've got to find commonality and everything, but you don't have to be their best friend. And that's where I see a lot of these tangents really going off string like that. So
you're totally right. So the people, a sales personality that does need to feel liked, that's a really important part of their personality. They tend to have conversations like this. Mm-hmm. Where they're off script a lot, they're moving around, they're talking about stuff that's not relevant. They'll get it back to the script for a little bit, but then they're just all over the place.
Right.
And they're searching for that. Again, can you get results doing this? Yes, you can. There's just way more unpredictability with it. All of this is just unpredictable how that's going to go. So you see in a disciplined salesperson, they're way down here and it's way more predictable.
Yeah. And this is how you're going to improve that 10% that we talked about in the last video, which is going to get you more appointments, more deals, more revenue. I mean, this is diving deep. So good stuff, man.
Yeah. Yep. And then last but not least, this is another sales kind of pattern that we work through our script. And this is just an example of how we start a conversation right here with discovery questions. And the discovery questions are kind of intended to draw the energy down towards where their a true issue is for them. So we're trying to define what their motivation or what problem are we solving by selling a house, and what is the why behind this whole situation. And so we're going to be asking questions to draw that out. And the better the questions, the better the answers are down here. And once we find the impact, the true why, we really feel like we found that, then we start moving the conversation up in an optimistic way more towards the sale. So solution-oriented, solution-based questions. Okay, so we take people down, feel the impact with them, and then we move them right back up with optimism and solutions to create the sale. Okay,
painting a picture of what the solution might look like for them. I love that, man. I'm a visual person. Yes. I haven't seen this slide right here before. This is like, to me, like, wow, yeah, that's I love it.
Yeah, it really resonated with me when this was kind of laid out for me, because I can see myself walking down towards through questions, getting deeper into the rapport, getting better, more genuine questions or answers. Then boom, you feel that impact. Like, oh yeah, that's why.
It's a switch at that point. Okay, now we switch to, okay, let's help you. Let's actually help this person. Let's get you to the promised land. I love that, man.
Let's solve this problem. Yeah. So anyways, this is what we teach. We go deep into this stuff. I hope this was impactful. Hopefully some of these techniques and things will help you improve your initial sales conversations, whether it's you, or maybe you can show this video to whoever's having those sales conversations, and they can get some value out of it as well.
Yeah, we're scratching the tip of the iceberg too here, guys. So again, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button below. We're going to do several more videos on this topic, and I think you guys are going to get a ton out of it. So, B, you got anything else?
No, man. I'm excited for people to use these techniques, get better at those initial phone calls, and move more people down their sales process.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We will see you on the next video. Eric, have a great weekend, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you guys on the next one. The next one is Fabi, which is one of the most powerful language patterns that any sales professional should know. So definitely stay tuned. Hit that like, subscribe, and let's keep in touch. We'll see you out there.
See you on the next video, guys.